One of the errors that students usually make is just run regression without looking at how the variables behave. And you can see how they behave by charting them. Before producing a chart, I want to explain how to generate what I call a time variable. Like, let's look at this data editor, and for example we have a variable called library, and on the left we have numbers of observations. This is an index, and Stata knows that library has value 0 at the first observation, and so on. So the idea is this: how can we pull out this variable that Stata knows anyhow and make it explicit? This is the command to generate that variable. I say gen for generate, and then I want to call it a time variable. Time equals underscore n. Okay, so underscore n is the name for that variable that I am talking about. And then we have a new variable in our list. Let me see. Here, this is the new variable which is called time. Okay, and then in the data editor I can see its values. See, we have those values which are exactly the same as we have here. So now with this variable at hand we can do some graphing. For example, one of the exercises in Dougherty's book suggests us to graph earnings on years of schooling. Okay, so let me find, actually we can go directly to graphics and then say two-way graph, and here we say create a graph. It will be a line. There are several types of graphs. It will be a line graph, and we need to indicate what will be the dependent and independent variable. The dependent variable S I already put here, and for the independent variable on the horizontal axis I want to put time. We can choose from the list here and say accept. This will be a definition of the graph, not the graph itself. And then I can press either OK or submit. I press OK, and this is the graph. Okay, so it looks pretty irregular because this is the what I call time is not actually time. It's the number of observations, or it is an individual, I believe. Now, if I want to produce another graph, I again go to graphics, two-way graph, and here I create a new one. Again it will be a line, and here I want to use the second variable suggested by Dougherty. It is earnings. Here it is, earnings, and again we draw this against time. Okay, so on the vertical axis we are going to have earnings, and on the horizontal axis we are going to have time. Except this will be a definition, and then we say OK. Now what happens is that I had two definitions, and when I have two definitions and I say OK, what I see here is actually two variables graphed on the same chart. Okay, one of them is S, another earnings. So if I want to see just one of them, two-way graph, I have to disable one of them. So in this case I need to disable the first one, which I already saw, and I want to see only the second one. Okay, and then we see the second variable. Okay, again it is pretty irregular. And don't forget, after doing all this, if you need to submit your work, don't forget to save, because it is not saved automatically. You say save, and then you see this GPH is a special extension that Stata has for graphs. It's not any time of a graph, but you can save it as that. Another thing that you can do here is just right click and say copy copy, and then go to a graphic editor. Here, for example, I have XNView, and I can extract in XNView, I can extract what the computer has in its memory. Okay, so we have just a graph, not the rest of it, what I had before. See, I had that interface for graphing, and now I have just the graph itself, and then I can save it. Okay.